We are going live in 5, 4, 3. Let's do it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We were partway through the song there already. Welcome to Studio Live today and GarageBand Weekly. This week we've got a very peculiar app of the week to show you, something I still haven't quite worked out myself. Our feature topic will be looking at strings, all things strings in GarageBand. We'll have a rant, we'll have some news, we'll have all the fun. So hang around for the next 32, let's be honest, 60 minutes. These shows used to be 30 minutes and then I started talking a lot more. So now they're about 45 to 60 minutes generally. So settle on in if you've not been here before and you don't know who I am and what this is. My name is Pete. Studio Live today is where I like to help you create, record, and release your best music. We do that through tips and tricks and tutorials and live shows just like this one. If that's your bag, consider subscribing. Hello to the folks who are here live over on Facebook and YouTube. I see, I'll do my romper room through the window thing. I see Alex, I see Joey, I see Sam, I see SM Borthwick, I see Scott, Guzzo, Tom, Ed is here, Dr. Zorders is in the house, and plenty of other people. Guzzo, hello to you all. I will interact with you because we'll have a Q&A section towards the middle of the show. So if you have questions about GarageBand, then please do ask them. Just put the big word question in front. That just helps me make sure I can locate them. So just do this business down here. Got a question? Put a big question in caps in front of your question, and it just means that, because I know you'd like to chat during the show, which is fabulous, but I can't often catch all the questions if they're in amongst the chat. So let's dive on in, shall we? We'll turn off that track in the background. We don't need that anymore. What news do we have of the last week? Well, it's been a bit of a slow news week. It's only the 2 weeks into 2021, so there's not a whole lot that's been going on. So I thought I would just talk about my news. So a couple of things that I've got going on. So GarageBand and the Mac M1. So if you're new to the show, you may not know this, but I am a big GarageBand iOS user. Let's just see if I can get my screen up here to prove it. Not that I've got anything to prove, but yeah, so I use GarageBand in iOS on my iPhone and iPad and have done for 5 years, coming up 5 years now, in a serious way. And recently, I've actually purchased a new Mac, the Mac M1, the new Mac Mini, the absolute base model, just over $1,000, and it's what I'm using to stream to you right now. And it is doing a fantastic job. I'm super happy with it. Had some teething problems early. You can check out the videos if you want to see exactly what went down. Just search my name and Mac, and you'll find a whole playlist of videos. But I'm at the point now where I'm starting to learn GarageBand on Mac a little more. I do have to jump between the Mac and the iOS just to get a little bit of comfort zone. I've talked about this before, but I'm the sort of person, and hands up if you're similar to this, where my comfort zone has to slowly expand. I'm like a balloon. If it blow it up too much, I pop and then I just walk away and stop. So I don't want to pop my GarageBand Mac balloon. I want to gently inflate it. So for all the folks who've been saying, Pete, you're in GarageBand now, you're in the Mac. When are you going to try Logic? When are you going to try all these other things? In a while. So I'm going to spend some time getting to know and getting familiar with GarageBand on Mac so that I can then branch out and start trying Logic Pro and other Mac apps. But for now, I'm very, very super happy that I have my Mac running, that I can do streaming here with StreamYard using Chrome, and that I can have all my audio gear set up. The one challenge I have is it still doesn't support my Zoom Live Track L8, so I'm back on my old Samson Mixpad mixer, which is doing okay. It's fine. And in fact, the simplicity of having just the mixer instead of having to use the whole Zoom Live Track situation is actually probably a little bit better. So maybe I might actually consider moving just to just a standard mixer, because sometimes less is more. Yeah, sometimes you overwhelm with the additional options, and that's what I'm finding in the audio world with the mixer. I just plug everything in, and I can do good mix minus on here. So if I'm doing interviews like I did with Thomas the other day, I can get a good mix minus signal, which just means I'm hearing what's coming through my computer, but it's not sending that back out to you and creating an infinite horrific loop, which we don't want. So that's where I'm at with the Mac. And related to that, I wanted to give a shout out because my buddy Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide. See, Jade, I can do an imitation too. Not a good one. So my buddy Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide did a video this week, and I meant to have it here ready to go, but we're going to jump over and find it. And look, he's doing actually. Since then, I haven't even noticed this one, but he's got a another new video. So I'll link to both of these down in the description. But if you just jump over right now, go to the GarageBand Guide. It looks like that. There's his channel. Make sure you're subscribed like I am. Turn on the bell. I don't. Do as I say, not as I do. No, I'm not a notification person. That's why you'll never hear me, or rarely. I don't think have I ever said ring that bell. You can, and if you like notifications, you can, but I don't. I like to work in a flow state, and notifications, emails, messages, tweets popping into my periphery distract me. So I don't do that. When I want to go and check something, I do this. I go and check it out. Anyway, I say all that to say there's a couple of videos here now. We've got what audio interfaces work with your Mac M1 and what instrument plugins work with GarageBand on M1 Macs. So they are two videos that you will want to go and check out if you are considering the Mac, because the biggest challenge I've had is what gear actually works with the M1. I had a few challenges with my Logitech webcam. It's now working fine and flawlessly, as you can see, because you can see me on it right now. And as I said, some audio interfaces that are not class compliant out of the box may not work. So just like your iPhone and iPad, you need, if you want 100% compatibility with pretty much everything, class compliance is the key. Class compliance simply means it will run without the need for any drivers. So most of your two-channel interfaces will run without needing a third-party driver from the manufacturer. As soon as you get into the realm of 4-channel, 8-channel mixer interface hybrids, that's when you start to run into trouble. Or if you're using higher-end interfaces, things like the Apollo Twin and things that have sort of built-in digital signal processing and other things, that can be a challenge. So the good news is that for us in the home studio, the simpler and cheaper, more affordable, let's say, the audio interface is, the more likely it is to work, even on something like the new Macs or on your iPad or iPhone, because it is going to be class compliant. So that's where we're at. Again, not a whole lot of news. What's coming up in 2021 from Apple and in the world of GarageBand is still up in the air. We've potentially got a new iPad announcement coming up soon, which could be interesting. I don't know where they're going to go with that. Last year we had the new iPad Air, the new regular iPad, and the new iPad Pro. So are we going to get new versions of any of those? We've kind of got some fresh ones out there. Is the Mini dead? That's the question. In fact, I'll ask you, anyone using an iPad Mini for production? The latest 5th generation iPad Mini is actually a pretty ridiculously good machine. So I would be interested to see if maybe we've got some new iPad Minis, but here's the problem. The new iPhone 12 Pro Max is getting to the point where it's almost the size of the Mini. Like when you're getting, your Minis are 7.9 inch, and when your phones are getting up above 6 inches, it's almost at the point where do you need a small tablet or a large phone? I don't know. What do you think? If you are in the market and you're interested in iPads, there is a web page I would like to recommend because it's mine. So why not? You can actually go over to studiolivetoday.com/iPad, and this is my iPad buyer's guide. So if you are looking to get into the world of producing music on your iPad or your iPhone, there is the same thing for iPhone. Just put studiolivetoday.com/iPhone, and you'll see here we've got videos here, my real world reviews and comparing all the new 2020 models. And then my recommendations. Now, this is back in September 2020, which is the last time we had an update. So I've got here my best all-rounders being the iPad 2020, the one that my daughter has just picked up, the iPad Pro 2nd Gen, and the iPad Mini 5th Gen. So I do have it in my recommendations. Your best budget or entry-level iPads are there, and then your best performance iPads, which is not surprisingly the new Air and the new Pro. So yeah, there you go. If you do want to go and check those out, and again, there's affiliate links there too. There's a comparison chart. This one's pretty cool. This has every single model that's ever been released, every iPad ever. And you can check out its specs, its processor, its connectivity, how much RAM it has, a lot of those hidden specs that they don't actually show you on the Apple website. This is the real deal. This is Pete's under the hood information about the iPads. So there you go, studiolivetoday.com/iPad, and check out my iPad buyer's guide if you're in the market. Alrighty, let us jump over and go to our feature topic. And as I mentioned, we're talking strings today. Strings in GarageBand can help add that little bit of nice, classy, padded sound to your songs. If you're creating an orchestral piece, I just saw our friend Orchestra Eclipse drop in here. So if you're creating orchestral music, if you just want to pad on that pop song or that rock song, or you just want to play around with some strings and have some fun, that's what I thought I would show you here today. So here is my iPad. Hopefully my audio is all working here. Let's just give her a quick test run. So there you go. Here is a little instrumental piece that I created just for today. No, I didn't really. I found this. It's called Experiment in G. Don't you love it when you just forget that you've written something and you go back through your archives and you're like, this will be perfect. So this is built around the strings here in GarageBand. And before you poo-poo the GarageBand strings, play with them. Before you go out and spend money on iSymphonic or on specific string instruments that you can use, check out the built-in strings, because with a little tweaking, with some effects and with some knowledge and know-how, you can turn your string sounds into something pretty darn epic. So let's go through the basics. So here we've got 4 different string parts. I've got the bass, the cello, the viola, and the violin, which are our 4 string instruments. So if we come to a part where they're all playing, you can hear that when we bring them all together, you get a sound that can sound pretty darn cool. So what are our options? How do we actually get this happening? So we're going to actually create a new piece. So I know I did all that and now I'm going to do something new. So we'll come out of GarageBand there. We'll hit create song to do a new song, because to select our strings, no, you don't tap on drummer. Sometimes trying to slide with the mouse doesn't work. I have to use my thumb. We'll slide across and we'll go to our string instrument. So if we can just tap straight on our strings, we've got a lot of different options down here that'll jump you straight into different sections. But what I tend to do is tap on the more sounds button, and then we can choose the type of strings that we're going to throw in here. So we've got cinematic, modern, pop, and romantic. And these really just change a bit of the tone and some of the attack and the release components. You'll hear that as we go through, because we'll experiment with a few. We'll tap on pop, and here is our string layout. Now, you can see here we've got first and second violins, we've got violas, we've got cellos, and we've got basses. So everything is enabled. You can see a little spotlight, and if you tap those on and off, you can turn on and off your different instruments. If we now just grab and tap, we're going to get a pizzicato sound, which is pretty cool in itself, yeah. But if you want to actually get a bowing sound, what you need to do is drag up and down in a particular quadrant. So see the C here, if we do it right at the top here, you get a sound like that. You come further down. Next one. And finally. So you've got 4 different sections. So if you wanted to have lower string sounds for like some pads, you can just bring that in and record those in like that. If you wanted higher, you go up higher. So that's the basics there. And again, just tap it to get your pizzicato. Once again, if we wanted, say, just the cellos and basses, remove it there and you've got just your cellos and basses. We'll bring it all back in. Like a lot of our other instruments, you've got an autoplay feature, yeah? So we can turn autoplay on, and if we go to autoplay 1 and we tap on this one, take a listen. Galloping through the countryside. But here's the cool thing. We got, not only do we have 4 different settings here, and I won't show you all of them, you can play in your own time. We go to this one. Let's do it in a D minor this time, shall we? That was a bit intense. I'm sorry. Did that make you jump? Certainly did for me. So you got all those options there. But here's the cool thing. Not only do we have those 4, there's 3 variations on each of these 4. So let me show you what these do now. Just turn that volume down so that we're not going to blast ourselves. Let's grab it on the C this time. So if we tap with 1 finger, we get this sound. What about with 2 fingers? Oh, we get that additional bit. Tap it to turn it off. What about 3 fingers? If I can very carefully tap with 3. you get a more complex. So you've actually got, with your autoplay, people are like, oh, autoplay, you only got 4 options. Nah, you got 12 options. You can use 1, 2, or 3 fingers across your 4 options, and that's the same across almost all of your instruments. Some only have the 4. Most will actually have those 3 variations across the different ones. So that's chords mode. Play around with that. It's a lot of fun. Oh, to record, why don't we record something in? So I kind of like that insane sounding one. So we'll just do something very simple, and we'll do it in F actually. I don't know why, but I'm feeling F. So we'll just we'll do the 3-finger tap, and we'll hit record and do the 3-finger tap on F. There you go. We've got that in there. Where are those drums coming from? Oh, we've still got Darcy. We added. I was like, I don't remember there being drums in here. We'll turn Darcy off now. Sorry, Quincy. Otherwise, we'll get confused. So I've just done 4 bars there of an F, and what we'll do is we'll just loop that out. So we'll just do a very simple sort of design here, just in the key of F, or just in an F chord, so that you can see what we're doing. So that's your first option there. Let's add another string track now that we've got that bass down. This time, you can see down here, we've got the ability to jump straight into notes. If we tap on the notes button there, then we're in a completely different interface. You can swap between them by using the chords and the notes. So you can go straight back to your chords there, or you can be in your notes here. So this time, we can only select one instrument at a time, your violin, viola, cello, or bass. And to play these, all we need to do is tap and hold on a string. Pretty cool, yeah? And you can slide up and slide down. And if you want your root note, your open string is right down the bottom there. So it's really hard to play with the mouse, but if I use my fingers, you can... So you can start playing in, but you're like, Pete, I don't know how to play a violin. I don't even know what those strings are. Don't worry, we got you covered. You don't need to. What we can actually do is use this scale button. So if we want to play in something that's going to go along with our F, we can actually come in here to the scale, and we can turn this on. Let's say do it in a major pentatonic scale. So now we can actually move around here. Now, I've realized that I did that in F, and the key signature is actually C major. But we'll see if this works. So let's just see if we can record along a violin by just playing in the pentatonic scale here. We'll hit record, and... There you go. With no knowledge of what I'm doing, I just went up and down in that pentatonic scale, and you get something that sounds kind of right. The cool thing is, though, like all MIDI instruments, we can actually change it. So once you've recorded in your strings, you can come in here, tap this one, go to your edit option, and we can change these notes. So we'll just zoom in. So just pinch your fingers in like that to zoom into your screen. And let's just play this back and see if there's any notes in here that we may want to change. That one. So I want this one to be there instead of that note, and we'll do that there. So let's just take a listen to this and see what it sounds like. Cool. So yeah, we're done. It's as simple as that. And that's with, again, I didn't know what notes I was playing. I didn't know what key I was in. But if you use the scales option there in your strings, it can actually help you do your things. See, that rhymes. And you know that rhymes. Let's come back in here and try something else a bit different. We'll go back to our notes mode. And this time we want a cello. But we don't want our cello playing no. We actually want to play some pizzicato notes. And guess what? If we tap and hold on this, now this is going to be hard with my mouse. I'll tap and hold with my thumb over here on the left, and then we can tap like that. Now, what about if we want to go to our scale, major pentatonic, no problem. Again, tapping. We can do that. All right, let's try this and record in a little bit of a cello part, shall we? Hit record. You probably couldn't hear that particularly well, so we'll just come out here and solo just that instrument. And take a listen to this. Pretty cool, yeah? So we can actually create a pizzicato sound by using the pizzicato option there and get some string plucking action in our lives. Let me come back over here to my notes and make sure that I'm covering everything. So we've talked string, we've talked chords mode, autoplay, our string types. So actually, no, we haven't. That's what we haven't touched on. So all this time we've been using, actually, no, that one used the modern string type. But let me just show you quickly the difference between the different types of strings that we can use. We'll tap on this one. So if we go into our chords mode, in the modern, we're going to get a sound a little bit like this. Quite a build up, a little bit slower on the attack there. Let's come into the cinematic. You get a more of a hit, right? Like faster attack and a more of a hit on there. What about our pop sound? Again, more of a pad kind of sound to sit below your pop songs. And finally, your romantic. Now you're getting a really slow, so it's mostly around the attack and the release. So again, if you really want something that's just going to hit it hard, you go your cinematic. And then from there, you sort of move to the right. And as you go to the right, you get sort of slower attack and a different sort of style depending what you want to do. So there you go. That is your options. Whoops, I don't need to save. Oh, can you save? I've never done that. Can we save different styles? I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe you can save your own settings here. Let's just call this one Pete. Oh, wow. You can save your own custom presets here. So that's actually very cool. I learned something new here today. So say I wanted one, you know how I did before where I wanted just my cellos and basses? I could actually save that in as my custom Pete preset. And then when I'm doing some atmospheric music, I can have it there ready to go. Very cool. There's actually two final things that I'll talk about strings, because as you can see, I get pretty excited by strings. They're pretty fun to play around with. So the last couple of things are, if you have an external MIDI keyboard, guess what? You can plug it in and play strings. Even when you're in this interface and you're using this one here, the notes mode, you can select an instrument here, grab your MIDI keyboard externally and play along. It's very, very cool. So that's another option. And the final thing is, if all of this is a bit too daunting for you and you just like a standard keyboard to play around with, guess what? You can do that too. We can actually add strings in here by hitting the plus button and this time going to keyboards. If we scroll across here, go to your more sounds, and under other, down the bottom here, you've got 3 different string sounds. Now, it's not you don't get to have your independent violin, viola, cello, bass, but you have your whole strings pizzicato, which is that plucking sound, staccato, which is more of a zhung, zhung, and then your sustain, which is your standard longer string sound. So if we go, say, the staccato strings, then we can play those in here. Again, we can change that up by going to the pizzicato or our sustain. So therefore, if you're more familiar around a keyboard, you can use that. And here we can manually change our attack and release. So if you want that nice padded sound that we were doing before, make your attack nice and slow. And then again, if you want it to be, don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can adjust your release so that your release is how quickly it lets go. So I've let go and it keeps going, yeah. But if we bring the release down to maybe half that, then it goes like that. So there you go. Your strings are pretty darn cool. What did we manage to create here in like 10 minutes? We put together this cool little string part using autoplay, using the notes mode, and just playing around. We got this. Very cool. How good are the strings? Use them, play around with them. If you're a GarageBand user and you've never experimented with strings, see how they can work in your next track. I promise you they're a lot of fun. Alrighty. Oh, I'm getting some weird interference there. I think it's my phone. I'll move that away. Weird thing with electronics, everything interferes with everything else. I have been missing the chat, I know. There's probably a bunch of folks that are asking questions here, so we will jump in and we will answer questions. Oh, I just saw some exciting news here from Rob. Says, Andy Goldsmith, I signed up to DistroKid and released my track last night. There you go. Rob B, getting into the DistroKid feels. Hopefully you used the DistroKid promo code. Hopefully you used distrokid.com/VIP/PeteJohns. If you are releasing music and you do want to, check the description. There's a link down there that'll save you 7% off your first year. Alrighty. All right. We've got. Sorry, I'm scrolling on up just to see if we had any string-related questions. I do see some other questions. Tom's saying that the virtual instruments are some of the best features in GB iOS overall. I think so, because you don't really have anything that's that simple and that easy to use in the Mac version or in any other DAW. To be honest, yeah. And as Marcus Manderson, DeFingers is here, and he says that they are indeed underrated. They do a good job. They sound good and they work well. Still getting some wacky interference here today. I think maybe I'm rubbing my feet on the carpet too hard. SM Borthwick says, this is cool. I haven't used strings much, but I need to look into it. I like that you can customize the chords. Yeah, and thank you. Let's. I didn't show that. It was one of those things where, I don't want to spend the entire hour on strings, but I am working on just a strings, and I'll make sure I put this in here. So if you are doing this and you're playing around with the chords mode, if we come in here, you can actually edit the chords that you're using. So if you want to go, you might be aware that you can actually come in here and you can change your key signature. So if instead of being in C major, we want it to be in F major, we can tap that and it will give us the corresponding chords for F major. Or you can actually customize your chords yourself. You tap on the edit chords button here and guess what? You can change these. So I want to use this E diminished. Well, you can change it to whatever you want. Let's just scroll up here. You can make it a G sharp, sustained fourth with a major seventh and a C sharp in the bass. And then you get this. You can actually create some ridiculously cool custom chords by doing it that way. So good additional bit of info there from Scott that you need to check out. All right, I'm going to go back up because I've got a couple of questions here. Curtis, excuse me a moment. Yep, right on cue. I get to about, sound like I'm a smoker, don't I? It's just it's early morning here. I get to about halfway through my shows and yeah, tend to have a quick clear of the throat. Let's jump into this question. When I set up for a vocal in my UR22C, I've got one plugged in right here. My vocal always sounds like there's weird doubling or chorus effect. It isn't recorded on the track, just in the headphones while recording or getting a mic level. My settings are on clean fun with no effects applied. What am I doing wrong? I was playing around with exactly this, and you're in luck because I have a UR22 with a microphone plugged into channel 1. So we can give you a live demo of this right now. So let's come back to our string track, and let's say I wanted to sing along to my string track. The main issue is, I think it's probably your mix dial here, Curtis. So on your UR22, so most audio interfaces have either a button or a dial that will tell it whether you are monitoring through direct monitoring, or what's sometimes called latency-free monitoring, or through your DAW, which is your processed signal. Now, it sounds like maybe you've actually got that set in the middle. So if you have it set in the middle, it's actually going to monitor both. Now, I'm not sure if I can replicate this through, but I'll be able to show you what it looks like on the screen and then in here in GarageBand. So to add an audio track, we'll hit plus. This is what you're saying you're doing. You're going more sounds, you're going clean, and you're going fun. So we have this in here now. Now, it's saying I've got an audio device connected. Do I want to turn on monitoring? Yes, I do. And if I grab this microphone, check, 1, 2, 3. See, I have monitoring on. You can actually hear me through this microphone. If I turn monitoring off, check, 1, 2. It's still recording, but it's not actually coming through. It's not going to, this is the DAW monitoring. And the reason it's not coming through is that I have my monitor dial set all the way around to DAW. Now, this will be interesting. I think if I start twisting this to the left, will we start hearing me come through on this mic? Yes, we will. We'll hear me coming through on this mic as well as here. So what's actually happening is we're hearing me directly into my headphones. It's all going through a bunch of different arrays here, but because I've got the mix dial over here going through the hardware and not the DAW, we're hearing me just through this. Now here's the problem. If I have this, but I also have the monitor on, and then I bring the dial around to the right, what we're going to get is exactly what you're talking about. You're hearing, that's the latency. That's the usually about between sort of 7 to 10 milliseconds of latency, and it creates a slap back delay kind of sound. So that's what you can hear right now. I've got my mix dial of my output halfway between the what is it called? The input and the DAW. So all I need to do to get rid of that is grab that dial, turn it all the way to the right, and now I'm just coming through this. Yeah, I'm coming over here too, but I'm just in this one here, and I'm only coming through there. If I turn it back to the left, well, then you can only hear me on the left side because I'm coming directly through. So that's what I recommend. Yes, you do get a little bit of latency doing it that way, but I always use the DAW setting, because the other thing with that is you can then, because if you do it, if you're monitoring just through your hardware, if you came in here and you wanted to start adding in, say, some delay or some reverb or some distortion, you won't hear that. You won't hear that coming through because you're monitoring directly through your audio interface. It's not going through GarageBand. As soon as you dial that over to the DAW, it's coming through with all of your processing intact. And yes, you will get that, 10 milliseconds of latency, which we all just have to live with in the digital world. It doesn't really mean much, and I've never really had an issue with latency with that. So that is where it's at. And again, if you don't want to do that, if you really just want to use that, just make sure that your monitor is off there so that it is only coming through your headphones. That way you won't get that doubling effect. So hopefully that helped you out. Excuse me. All right, we'll jump down and see if we've got any other questions while we're in the Q&A mood. Once again, if you've got the question, if you've got a question, throw it here in the chat and we will try to get to it. Josephine, hello to you. I have a question. I want to connect an audio interface to an iPhone 6s. Does that work with the Lightning adapter because it still has an audio jack? Yeah, totally. So if you're in love with your iPhone 6s, as I am, and you've got something like this lying around, then yes, even though this does have a headphone jack as well as a lightning jack, as soon as you plug an audio interface or any device into that lightning jack, that will override the audio. And in fact, it does trip up some people because some folks have plugged in their audio interface, they've plugged in their microphone or their guitar, they go to record, but their headphones are still plugged into their headphone jack and they're not getting any audio playback. That's because that has been rendered useless by the fact that you have a digital audio interface installed. I'm getting that buzz again. I hope that's not coming through at your end, but it's buzzing in my ear here. So yes, you absolutely can. But yeah, once you plug in a digital device via Lightning using the, say it with me folks, Lightning to USB 3 adapter, then yeah, you'll be good to go. It will override anything else that you have plugged in. Alrighty. I'll scroll on down. We've answered Curtis's question. I'm just going to see if we have anyone else. I thought I saw a question just a moment ago. Sorry, bear with me. There's a lot of things. Yep, Lee Davies. I thought I saw you down here. Hi, Pete. Do you think iOS GarageBand, iPhone, and a 2i2 can be used to pull off a small live gig in a garden, say, using the monitor outputs to some? Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know if there was any extra to that question. Oh, hang on. We've got an updated version to some monitor speakers. I'm guessing monitoring on a condenser won't work. Well, a dynamic mic. So yeah, and a condenser will work as long as you have phantom power. So the biggest issue that you're going to have with something like that, and funnily enough, it's related to our tip of the day here today as well, that I'll get to in a moment. But the reason I use a mixer instead of an audio interface for live is the outputs. So getting your outputs. So when you have a 2-channel interface, it's usually a stereo interface, right? So it's just repurposing the left and right channels for your microphone and your guitar. So let's say you're a performing singing songwriter, you plug your mic into your left, you plug your instrument into your right, and then you send your outputs out to your monitor speakers. Well, you're going to get your microphone in your left monitor and then your guitar in your right monitor. Now, the reason I recommend the Steinberg UR22C audio interface is it has a mono monitor button, which is very handy for this exact situation. What that does is it grabs your left and your right and it smushes them together and it sends them out as a dual mono output. So it'll send the same signal to your left and your right channel so that you can monitor in mono. So if you've got a Steinberg UR22C or 44C or one of the newer UR2C models, then that's going to work for you. Or if your interface has a mono selector, you can do that. There's other ways around it. You could sum down into mono channel. You could use something in between to sort of send the left and right both to both, if that makes sense. So to a couple of of adapter cables there, but it does get a little fiddly. The benefit of a mixer over an audio interface for doing this exact setup is that you can simply just set your panning. So you can pan them both right down the middle, put them into 2 channels, and boom, it's going to go straight out. So it's not that it can't be done, but it's a little bit more complex to actually do it that way. So hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, we'll be talking about something similar in just a few moments. Gonna scroll on down and see if we have any. We've got people having to go and do their maths homework. That's never fun, but you do use maths in the future. If you need to calculate your delays and your reverb settings, there's important things you need for mathematics. Right down here, Punkster P has a question. Do you recommend keeping each instrument on its own track or merging recordings onto one track? Are we to offer strings? I was about to say, are we talking strings? Yeah. So interesting question. Let's jump back over, shall we? Jump back over to our GarageBand. So what we could do, yeah, so you can actually combine these together. Now, I keep things as separate as I can for as long as I can. Basically, unless you're running out of tracks, I would keep things pretty much separate. You can do things like combining tracks. So if we tap on here, we can. So you can merge them together. That will actually lose it, but I haven't done this in so long. Let's do multiple. So we'll tap and tap and tap and tap and tap. Can we do the join thing? Yeah, let's do this. So if we hit join, check out that. It moves everything all onto that one track. So we've still got all those strings there, but they've all been applied using the same settings. So it means if you've got things like if you've got custom plugins that you've put on just your cello or just your bass or just your violin, or you're using pop for one and cinematic for one and modern for one, it's not going to work that way. So if we undo that, you get a lot more control leaving it there. Now, when you get towards the end, if you're running out of tracks, what I'd probably use is more the merge function, because the merge function will keep all the same settings. What that does is it basically just grabs all these notes and all these notes and puts them all on this one track, and you can get crossover and you can get issues with it. So if you've got enough tracks, you've got 32 tracks to play with. If you've got enough tracks to play with, then go ahead and do that. And there you go. It sounds like didn't know the join. Yeah, the join feature is actually really cool. You can join things not only within the same thing. So if we had these two, so if we copy this and pasted this twice, so this is pretty cool. You can only do this with MIDI. You can't do this with audio before you get too excited. But if we have 2 bits of MIDI in the one thing, we can select them both. So to select both, you tap on one and then tap and hold on that one and then tap on another one and then tap the whole selection and do join, and boom, it'll bring them all together. But you can even do that across tracks, only with the same track types. You can't join a strings and a keys, and you can't join a keys and a drums for obvious reasons. But again, in fact, this time, if we do our loop, so you can do this as well, you can just drag a rectangle over a bunch of stuff, tap it, tap again, hit the join button, and it will consolidate all of those in the first track you select. Pretty cool. Pretty cool option. Good for saving tracks if you are bringing things together. A question from Ru. Can you plug your USB microphone into your PC or iPad and still use your Focusrite audio interface? Short answer is yes, especially for PC and Mac. Mac is actually the best for this, and I've found that recently because what I'm running at the moment is I've actually got a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 and my Samson Mixpad, so that when I'm using GarageBand on Mac, I can point GarageBand at the inputs of the Focusrite 2i2, so I can record with that, and then send its output out to a channel in my mixer. So yeah, you do have those options. What you can't do is in iOS, you can't do that. You can't create a sum audio device and you can't have more than one audio input or output at a time. So folks have asked me, oh, I've got a USB microphone. What if I want a second USB microphone? Can I add that? No, because each one of those is their own independent audio interface with independent input and output. So as soon as you plug a second USB mic in, it'll say, okay, I'm here now, and it kicks out the last one, and you can only use one at a time. The same with audio interfaces. So if you've got an audio interface and a USB mic, or 2 USB audio interfaces, even though you can technically plug them both in using a powered USB hub, so you can put a 4-port hub in there, plug in multiple devices, it won't work. Now you can do things like an audio interface, a MIDI keyboard, a typing keyboard and mouse, USB drives. So you can use a bunch of different devices, but when it comes to audio input or output, you can only use one at a time. All right. And thank you. I appreciate the donation. Thanks for the super chat to Punks to P, and glad that that could help you out. Yeah, the strings again. The strings are very very cool. And I'll put this out here. If you do want more of those sort of quick tip information, like I showed in the strings here, I've done those for a heap of others. So for the keyboards, for guitars, for basically every function here. And if you go to my GarageBand Quick Jams video series, that is the place that I would recommend. So let me just show you real quick. We're a bit behind here today, but that's okay. Good questions, and when there's good questions, I want to make sure I give at least decent answers to them. So if we come over here, if we go GarageBand, if you just search GarageBand Quick Jams, it should get you there. It will indeed. So just go to YouTube, search GarageBand Quick Jams and check it out. This is a 76 video series. They're all free, of course, because they're all on YouTube. So if we come in here and play that, there it is. There's episode 1. And then down the side here, you've got 76 different episodes. You've got keyboard, metronome, drums, guitar, bass guitar, strings, and all synths. And all of these things are covered within about 2 to 5 minutes. Most of them around 2 or 3 minutes. And they just give you bang, bang, bang. Details, details, details. Just the facts. Quantizations there. All the world instruments, if you've ever wanted to play with them. Your smart drums, your drummer, time signatures, organs, icons, distortion, all the plugins. All the plugins here. Pitch control, vocal transformer, microphaser. So yeah, 76 videos, and you could basically binge watch the whole lot in a day, and I promise your brain will be full of GarageBand iOS goodness by the time you get to there. So what I'm going to do, I'll post that here in the chat right now, the link to the playlist. So I tag that one, flag it, bookmark it, and then come back and check those out, because if you've ever wanted to know anything about GarageBand, in 2 to 5 minutes, I'll be able to hopefully impart some knowledge, and there's a good reference there if you want to come back in the future and check out more. Alrighty, okay, I'm going to move on here, otherwise we're going to run out of time, because the folks talking hockey in the chat, and if I start talking hockey, I'll start getting excited and gloating about the fact that the Rangers came back and crushed the Islanders yesterday after being crushed 2 days earlier. So let's go Rangers. All right, let's go to our next topic. The tip of the week. So we're going to have to jump into this one. Excuse me a moment. All right, and that's the other reason a mix is good. I can quickly throw my volume down to cough, and I don't have to cough in your ears. If you're trying to do that on an audio interface, you have to do the little dodgy little dial. All right, let's talk about stereo and mono, shall we? Because we've had a lot of questions today which have been super relevant to this topic, which is an audio interface. A stereo audio interface has a lot of advantages, but the big disadvantage it has, as I just try to find my gear guide here, the big disadvantage that they have is that they output stereo, but when you're recording with them, unless you're using something like GarageBand, where you can actually center your instruments and pan it manually, it will record all of the channel 1 stuff on the left and all the channel 2 stuff on the right. So let me show you what I mean. If I grab here my Steinberg UR22C. So this is my audio interface of choice. And if you go to studiolivetoday.com/gear, you can check out my gear guide and all the stuff I recommend. So the UR22C, you can see here, it's got two inputs, input 1 and input 2. You could plug in a guitar and a guitar, a mic and a mic, a stereo line in, and it will record those in stereo. So if you're recording using your iPhone, so from what Josephine said before, say she got an audio interface and she wants to record herself singing, or singing and playing guitar, we'll say. So sets up the iPhone, plugs in a 2-channel interface, puts a microphone into 1 and a guitar into 2, records using the camera app, goes to play it back. Oh, all my vocals are on the left ear and all my guitars are on the right ear. So that's a problem, but there's ways to fix it. And the way that I use to fix it is using an app called Luma Fusion, which is my video editing app of choice. And I'm going to show you, I've done a quick demo here. I'll just see if I can get it up. I'm going to embarrass myself here, but don't worry. I like to embarrass myself. It's fine. Let me just go to my photos, because I did a quick recording for us just beforehand from a very dodgy angle. So let's come in here and take a look at that. Have I lost my reflector? I'm not reflecting anything anymore. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to unplug my audio interface. I've got to get my reflector happening again. I did so much garage banding that it went, no, you've had enough. That's enough, Jason. All right, there we go. So there's me. There's me looking like a doofus. And now I'm going to plug my audio interface back in just so that I can get my audio coming back through my mixer so that we can demonstrate this properly. So hopefully that has now got my audio coming through my mixer. We'll hit play there and whoop, play. Oh, it's not. It's having puppies here. It's not wanting to play back. If I scroll through, no, why aren't you playing back? Okay, we're going to unplug. It does this sometimes when it gets very confused when I go from using, we'll come back there. All right, there's all my things. Let's try this. All right, I'm going to have to go through AirPlay audio. So when you've got your guitar on your right channel, all right, and your microphone on your... So let's just take a listen to me in this video because I'm demonstrating the problem. So what I've got here is I've got exactly as I showed before, and in fact, I'll just play the video. You'll hear what's going on here. So when you've got your guitar on your right channel and your microphone on your left channel, it's not really going to do that well. So what if you wanted to, instead of having your guitar over here and having your microphone over here, what if you want those to be all on one mono channel? How do we get it done? How do we get it done, Mr. Man? You tell me, sunshine. So we've got this video file. This has been recorded on my standard camera app. And as you can hear there, if you're listening in stereo, the guitar's over here and, sorry, other way around. My mic's over here and my guitar's over here. Now, when I've done this in the past, people have said, oh, how do I record it? How do I get it stereo? How do I fix it? The fix around this is actually to do it in editing. You can try and get a camera app that has audio settings, but even the high-end ones like Filmic Pro and Movie Pro, they don't tend to have audio options in terms of the channels. They've only got audio options in terms of the quality and the bit rate and that sort of thing. They'll still just record stereo, one left, one right. So what do we do with this? Well, let's come here. We're going to go select. We're going to tap on this one and we're going to send this over to LumaFusion. So let me just do that. We'll tap on the share and we will come down here and we will hit the more button here. And where we want it to go is to, why isn't it going to LumaFusion? Sorry, there is one step in between. In fact, I'll just go straight to LumaFusion. You need to send it to your files before it will then let you send it to LumaFusion. But instead of doing all that, let's just go straight into LumaFusion because the beautiful part about LumaFusion as a video editor is it will let you, well, here's one I prepared earlier. That's just ruined it because that's what you do. But let's do it from the start. So if we've created a new project here in LumaFusion. We'll hit the plus button and we'll go new project. And then all we need to do is go to our photos and actually bring it on in. So we can come up here, you can just go straight to your photos where you've just created your amazing performance of your acoustic cover. And then you can just grab that video, throw it straight here into LumaFusion and it'll process it in just a moment. And then we'll hit play. There we go, it's processed. So hit play and it's going to. So when you've got your guitar on your right channel and your microphone on your left channel, so we've still got the same problem, right? What do we need to do? Well, there's a way that we can actually separate our audio here in LumaFusion and then do some pretty cool stuff. So what we're going to do, tap on this one, boom, and whoop, tap on this one, and then down here we can grab the audio and we've created a copy of our audio, right? So this is our entire audio file here. And if we double tap on this one, it'll bring us into our audio options. So you can see there where you've got some on the left and some on the right. It's a mess, yeah? We want to make this mono. Now, unfortunately, there's not a really easy way to do this. What we can do is come in here and do this, but there's only two options here. There's no just convert both to mono. There's fill from left and fill from right. So what we actually need to do with this is create two copies of our audio. So we just grab this one, we tap it, whoop, we tap it. It's really hard to do this. We go to there and there. So I've got screens and mice going everywhere. We then just paste it here at the end, and then all we need to do is grab this audio and bring it down under. And now we've got, okay, you're like, Pete, that's crazy. We've just got two copies of the same audio. Hang on, undo that. I adjusted that. We've got two copies of the same audio. But now what we can do is we can grab one and go to our settings, like we did before, double tap, come into audio, configuration, and then in our stereo, we're going to fill this one from the left. Boom. This one is going to be our left channel, but in mono. We're then going to come back to here, and yeah, you're already ahead of me. We'll double tap on this one, and we'll go to our configuration, and we'll go fill this one from the right. So now we've got two mono channels that we can now mix into our audio that is going to put both our guitar and our vocal on the left and right. We just need to come in here to our mixer, probably turn both of these down so that we are not going to blow our heads off. And let's play back this little video file now, shall we? Right in the middle. So when you've got your guitar on your right channel and your microphone on your left channel, right, it's not really going to do that well. So what if you wanted to, instead of having your guitar over here and having your microphone over here, what if you want those to be all... And you know what's even cooler about this? If you didn't get your balance right, you now have independent control over your mic and your guitar. So if you recorded a cover and you're like, man, it's really good, but my vocals were up too loud, all you need to do is come in here and turn the vocals down. Because what you've basically done is turned your left and right channels, which were two parts of a stereo audio file, into two independent mono channels on your video. So there you go. So, and you might have seen, oh, it took like 5 minutes, but once you do this once, it is dead simple to do it a bunch of times. And you can record a whole hour worth of you playing and then just bring it into LumaFusion, do that, and you can turn your stereo audio into a 2-channel mono signal and you can mix it to your heart's content. So hopefully that helps, because I get that question a lot. I'm working on a tutorial on that now, but I thought I would just show it quickly here because it's a really easy thing to do. I'm going to play a whole song and then show how we can actually do that, because I get asked that again, probably more than any other question. Alrighty, we'll see if we've got any other questions, and then we'll jump into our last section here. What's the best video editor for a PC? Asking for another friend. Yeah, can you get LumaFusion on PC? No, on PC, DaVinci Resolve is the best video editor. Our buddy Mike over at Creative Source uses that one. It has a steep learning curve, but it's free and it is super powerful. If you want something costly, Adobe Premiere. That works well. But yeah, I would go for learn DaVinci Resolve, because it's actually something that's really cool. It's used by a lot of pros, but they just, a while ago, for whatever reason, they just said, we're just opening this up. We're going to give this to everyone. Alrighty, let's continue on, and we'll go to our last section, because we are, where are we? Sorry, I'm losing it. Yeah, there you go. Joey Helpy says Resolve is worth learning. Yeah, if I had the time and if I wasn't using LumaFusion for all my editing, I would probably go and try Resolve. In fact, I downloaded it once and then I've never got around to playing with it. Let's see if I can get my audio working properly again here for the last little section. I'm going to show you something that I haven't really... I said we've got a weird one here for the app of the week, and it's something that I've been playing with and I still haven't really worked out how to use or what it really does. And it is a little plugin called CUSNP. I see you. Oh, I see you. RMT. There was a Garfield book I had when I was a kid, and he said it was like, what 7 letters did Garfield say when he got to the fridge and there was nothing there? And it was OICURMT. I thought that was hilarious as a child. I was a weird kid. All right, let's come in here and grab one of these tracks. So let's grab this pop track that we've put together here. Cool, yeah. I want to show you this app. It's a plugin, as I said, it's called CUSNP. If we come in here and we add it, it's a string resonance something. It's made by our friends at Neon Silicon. Now, if that name sounds familiar, they make the amazing LRC5 plugin, which is the best EQ. And this is what this is. So it's these resonating strings that it applies, it provides some resonance and some vibration to your sound that can give your sound a very different kind of feel. So let's just put the default on here and play these strings now. Can you hear it's kind of created more of a resonant kind of almost like a pipe organ type tone to these? We'll turn it off and it sounds like this. Turn it on. So I haven't found a use case for this yet, and I haven't played with it enough, but there's a heap of options in here. We can come in here and you can play with the settings, the frequencies of all the different strings. Can we embiggen it a bit? Oh, no, it just goes like that. Okay, so the interface is a little bit clunky, but you basically can set the tone and the octave of all of these different strings. There's a whole bunch of different things with the different sustains and the different levels that you can apply here. You can then change those and apply the same things to all strings, and you just get these weird and wacky tones. We play that back. Turn it off. Right. So I think this could be good if you've got a pad sound that's got maybe too much attack or a little bit too much of that grungy sound. Then you can throw this on here and it kind of mutes it and makes it a little bit more subtle. Now we do have some presets. We'll come in here. We can do the C sharp something something. That's a nice one. This one's got a bit more resonance in there, and you can see this is just, you can turn these strings on and off over here on the side, and you can see this one's just using the middle strings there, so it's creating more of a mid-range sort of tone. So it's really changing up. It's really changing up the tone that you get there. Now I have experimented and played with this on other tracks. So let's say if we put it on something like a drum track, it gives us some really wacky stuff. And this is where I think it could be fun to try and break things with. So, right? Because it's more of a melodic sound, it takes those hits and it turns them into like string sounds. I don't know. There's something cool about it. I want to find a use case for it. Maybe we need to do a challenge where you need to create a song with just CUSMP on every track and see what happens. I think it could be fun. But it's free and it's worth downloading. Like, why not? Why not download it and play around with it because it's free? Yeah, and it does. It sounds as if you can manipulate bowing. This app would be interesting automated in an application across a track. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it would be fun. I think it would be fun. Alrighty, let's finish up here because we are right at the end here. I told you, I said at the start these shows used to be 30 minutes, and now they've went to 45 minutes, and now they're pretty much an hour every time. If you did get some value here today, please do hit the thumbs up button. That just lets all of the YouTube robots know that you had fun here today. If you didn't like it, hit the thumbs down button, but hit it twice. Make it extra bad, right? Know what I'm saying? Leave me a comment if you're here watching on the replay and you've got any questions or comments or suggestions or anything at all. Please drop those down in the comments. And the resource of the week, I do have one more thing to go here, and then I'll let you know because I think Jade will be coming up next. She has already put it there. Coming up in 5 minutes, how to app on iOS, looking at bark filter to give your songs more bite. See what she did there? Bark, bite. See, she's a clever lady. I just go, strings. We're talking about strings. And she's like, bark instead of bite. I'm like, yeah, that's clever. All right. The one final thing I'll mention is we're having a lot of fun over on Patreon. And if you go to patreon.com/PeteJohns, you can sign up to my Patreon. And that is for as little as $1 per month. You get access to some exclusive videos, some behind the scenes stuff, and you get access to me. So I've mentioned it before, but I can't get back to everyone, and I can't get back to all emails and all messages and all comments all the time. But there's one group of folks that I do get back to within usually 24 to 48 hours, and that's folks that support me over on Patreon. So if you're looking for more support, if you're looking for more assistance, if you want to dive into the back end and see some of the more like raw and behind the scenes stuff, then come and join the fun. And we've got something really cool coming up. We just passed 50 patrons on the Patreon channel, and we did a draw. All of the patrons went into a barrel, and we drew out Stu Cash from Indigo Sunsets, and Stu won me for a couple of hours. So he gets to utilize me to play on a track, to write a song, to do whatever he wants. And we'll be doing that live over on the Patreon channel. So if you want to see what Stu has in store for me, then jump on over patreon.com/PeteJohns. Alrighty. So thank you very much for being here once again. CUSMP. That was the name of the app, CUSMP. I will link it down into the description after the show. So if you're watching on the replay, it should be there by then. But yeah, CUSMP. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Again, if you got some value, hit the thumbs up. Jump over to studiolivetoday.com if you want to find all the ways that you can interact and get in touch. They've got the gear guide, the iPad guide, the iPhone guide, and all of the other resources are right there in that one-stop shop. And do join the mailing list. It'll pop up. I know, I hate pop-ups too, but the first time you go there, it'll pop up and say, hey, do you want to join the mailing list? I only want your email address. I send out one newsletter a week. It's not super spammy. It is just what's coming up on the show, some highlights of last week, and the live shows for the next week. So if you want to keep in touch, that's probably the best way to do it so that you don't miss a thing. Thanks everyone for being here. Have a wonderful day. Jump on over to Jade Star's channel now to check out her How To App series. I'll see you over there if you are keen to check that out. And until next time, please be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and keep creating. Rock on.